From singing to fake AI crowds to putting castles in their head as a statement and getting cancelled by Hollywood, the Will Smith family has been going through it all. Ever since that fateful night at the Oscars, the Will Smith family has completely fallen off of the map. And so in this video, we're going to explore where the Smith family is today, and how one of the most famous families turned into a parody of all the things wrong with Hollywood and fame culture. Let's begin with Will Smith. Ever since the Oscar slap, he's never really been able to get any serious roles in Hollywood. His relevance has completely died out. Nobody cared about him and nobody wants to be associated with him. Not even his own family. So Will had to do something drastic, and it all started with, you guessed it, Pretty Girls. Now we've spoken about this before, but things have only gotten so much worse since. In June 2025, Will dropped what might be the most cringe-worthy song of the decade. The track opens with Will sitting in a therapist's office describing his problem, which turns out to be liking attractive women. Already, you know this is gonna be rough. It's a 50-year-old man with a broken image, a broken family, rapping about young attractive women. Then he starts rapping about different flavors of women: vanilla, chocolate, strawberry, lemon. And the internet absolutely clown on it. You go on TikTok, YouTube, anywhere, and you'll find he hasn't got a single real fan. Just check out these comments and critiques from literally everyone, from YouTube comments to Reddit and newspaper and music critic headlines. Even the people you would expect to like Will Smith called it exploitative and noted the potentially unintentionally creepy lyrics. The song was part of his album based on a true story, his first in 20 years, which completely bombed and became the worst reviewed album of the year. Pitchfork gave it a brutal 2.4 out of 10, calling it a pointless apology tour that was devoid of perspective or style. The reviewer wrote it felt like a campaign platform with one message: please take me back. Rolling Stone wasn't any kinder, describing the album as clunky and weighed down by cringy gospel-tinged, platitudinous rap. The Independent gave it 2 out of 5 stars, saying it lacked innovation and came across as quasi-inspirational songs that lacked energy. And these are the people that should be loving Will Smith. The previous idol of Hollywood, the guy who would say whatever he needed to say and do whatever he needed to do by Hollywood elites. And the commercial performance was even worse than the reviews. The album completely failed to chart on the Billboard 200, obviously, and it was Will's first album to ever achieve that level of commercial failure. In the UK, it sold just 268 copies in its first week, and only managed to hit number 79 on the download charts. And to be honest, most people probably buying this are doing it for the meme. As that's not a typo, 268 copies. Local indie bands often sell more copies at a single concert. To promote this masterpiece, he decided to perform at London's King Cross station, and he definitely didn't manage to rescue his image, as he asked for the crowd to chant and dance along, only for them to stand there like cardboard cutouts. Viewers then described it as having no energy, no response, nada. With nobody dancing along, nobody even looks happy. And if he thought busking at train stations was rock bottom, Will had other plans. By August 2025, during his European tour, Will sung so low that he posted a video showing massive crowds cheering for him. Except the crowds were fake AI. People immediately spotted digitally mangled faces, nonsensical finger placements, and people moving like they're in The Sims. The comments were brutal. Imagine being this rich and famous and having to use AI footage of crowds and bot comments on your video. Tragic, man, you used to be cool. The whole thing was such a catastrophe that Will's planned massive comeback tour had to be scaled down significantly. When your album flops so hard that you have to tour smaller venues in places like Scarborough and Wolverhampton instead of major metropolitan areas, you know you've hit rock bottom. And if anyone knows of Scarborough, they'll know how comical this really is. I mean, just think about how desperate you have to be to fit your own crowd sizes, especially when you were the most famous man in the world at one point. This is a man who once performed for actual sold-out stadiums around the world, now reduced to manufacturing digital fans because the real ones have moved on, performing local gigs in Wolverhampton. Really, Will's fans grew up when he didn't. You could get away with tacky music in the 90s, Smith's early hits like Miami and Summertime really didn't sound too different to Pretty Girls, but they were released 30 years ago and he was cool back then. He hadn't had his image completely destroyed, and let it sink in and remind yourself that Will Smith is now pushing 60 years old. Aside from the album and tour, Will was persistent in bringing back his rap career when he released the Lyrical Lemonade freestyle from March 2025, bringing the cringe to a whole new level. He's sitting there in front of what looks like a school lunch, trying to convince everyone he's still got it. The lines are just painful. I pulled a pin out of the grenade on purpose when I threw it. Like, yeah, that's how grenades work. And then he keeps saying this is the bounce back over and over, like if he says it enough times, it'll actually happen. The whole thing just feels awkward. It's like watching your dad try to freestyle at a family barbecue. Everyone's just uncomfortable. As his music career imploded, Will then tried to resurrect his acting reputation with Bad Boys Ride or Die in 2024. While the movie did make money, many said it felt calculated and desperate rather than a genuine comeback. The Hollywood Reporter revealed that Smith's agents had been calling studio production executives for the first time since the slap, trying to drum up work. They were literally using Bad Boys 4 as a test case to see if anyone would still hire him. It felt like it was his Hail Mary, his last shot at movie star relevance. And to be fair to Will, he did set his conditions for his return for a possible Bad Boys 5, saying, "I never wanted to be one of those dudes who make sequels just because people will go." But that's exactly what this feels like, a desperate attempt to milk a franchise that peaked decades ago. A great metaphor for his own personality, as behind the scenes of Will's desperate looking public appearance, his personal life and marriage were completely falling apart in a more serious way. And here you can really feel how, as a part of the Hollywood machine, he and his family kind of just stopped being people and instead turned into brands and commodities. As in October 2023, Jada dropped a bombshell that changed everything we thought we knew about the Oscar slap. During her promotional tour of her book Worthy, she revealed that she and Will had actually been separated since 2016, meaning they hadn't been living together as a couple for 7 years. So when Will slapped Chris Rock and shouted, "Keep my wife's name out of your mouth," he was defending a woman who wasn't technically his wife anymore. Think about that for a second. The most famous public defense of a marriage in recent history was actually a lie. They kept up the charade for the cameras, and for the brands and movie roles. Jada said that they were exhausted with trying and stuck in their fantasy of what we thought the other person should be. When her book finally came out, which was supposed to be a big comeback moment, it became another cringe-worthy spectacle. But before we continue, this video is sponsored by Raycon, and it's Raycon's anniversary, and the Essential Open Earbuds are stealing the spotlight. They're 30% off. Honestly, these have just become my best friends for my daily grind. They're sleek, smart, and just way cooler than your average earbuds. Whether I'm working, commuting, or just winding down, they fit right in and make everything feel a little more fun. As they're just insanely comfortable. I'll wear them for hours and forget they're even on. Plus, the battery life is wild. 8 hours per charge and 36 hours total with the case, while also delivering crystal clear sound, sitting just outside your ear canal, meaning that you can hear traffic or when someone calls your name, while also giving you focus on the clear quality audio. They're also just lightweight and all day comfortable, meaning they never feel bulky, and the secure fit means they stay put, whether I'm at the gym, out on a walk, or grinding through my to-do list. And the real kicker is that Raycon delivers the same premium audio quality as the big brands, but at half the price. Add in over 3 million happy customers and a 30-day happiness guarantee, and there's zero reason to overpay. So make sure to check them out today by using the link in the description below, or go to buyraycon.com/moonwhityopen to get 30% off the Essential Open Earbuds. The book tour itself was a disaster. Quote, "We just lived through Jada's memoir rollout, and I'm tired," said Sam Sanders on his podcast Into It. Even Saturday Night Live got in on the action. The book itself was a commercial flop, with just 23% of people recommending it on Google. The reviews were brutal. I read mostly biography, almost never fiction. I watched all the episodes of Red Table Talk, so I was looking forward to this book. There is nothing new here, and it's not even well written. You can skip this book. Another reader wrote, "What a stupid book. Completely not worth the money. After about 30 pages, I had enough." Speaking of Red Table Talk, that was another thing that objectively hurt the Smith family as a whole. Jada's talk show, with a terrible 2.9 out of 10 rating on IMDb, gave the world an overly intimate look at the whole family. It exposed the family for the sake of virtually nothing. The most infamous episode was the entanglement one, where Jada admitted to her affair with her son's friend who was 27 while she was 48. The episode spawned the sad Will Smith meme that went viral, showing Will looking absolutely miserable as his wife casually discussed cheating on him. Decades ago, the average person knew very little about their favourite movie star. With Will, Jada and their kids, Willow and Jaden, everyone seemingly knows too much about their famous family. The financial pressure probably didn't help their relationship either. Will's media company Westbrook, which he built with Jada, has been hemorrhaging money since the slap. Before 2022, they were bringing in around $170 million annually, and had turned down a $600 million buyout offer. After the slap, their revenue dropped to just $100 million in 2023, forcing them to lay off half their staff and lose major deals. Sure, it's still massive figures, but you just get the sense that the whole situation has taken a serious toll on Will's mental health. It's what's led him to do all these weird collaborations with any random influencer, just trying to stay relevant no matter what. And he has actually been open about struggling with depression, which is at least somewhat redeemable, but it seemed like Jada again brought this to the public's attention in a way that didn't really show Will much respect. respect, as people pointed out that the way her family's revelations were handled seemed to prioritize content and publicity over privacy and dignity. The pattern of exposing intimate family struggles for the public to consume, from their marriage problems to their children's mental health issues, all feels really uncomfortable and ultimately damaging for the family. But it's not like Will has tried to tame his ego though. Instead of handling the whole slap incident quietly, he decided to double down with a Chris Rock diss track. During an appearance on Apple Music's Fire in the Booth series, he clearly references the incident, spitting, "If you talking crazy out your face up on the stage and disrespect me on the stage, expect me on the stage." 2 years later, and Will is still trying to make Chris Rock the villain in his story. Again, he's 57 years old. So with all that in mind, take a second to imagine what life has been like for Jaden, Will Smith's own son. While Will spent decades working his tail off to become the best product he could, he had that level of fame, notoriety and societal pressures hanging around his neck from the moment he was conceived. Despite his parents' best efforts, he had zero chance of a normal childhood. And that isn't just speculation on our part. Jaden himself said as much. In a 2018 interview, he told Teen Vogue, "People treat me like I'm not a normal human so much that you start to believe it. Like, am I not a normal human?" At the 2025 Grammy Awards, this pressure manifested in perhaps the most ridiculous way possible. Jaden showed up wearing a literal castle on his head. The $4,600 piece called the Vampire Castle was designed by a Transylvanian designer, who claims to have descended from nobility. But rather than his weird fashion choices, it's the blatant nepotism that has frustrated most people about Jaden. This became painfully obvious in late 2024, when Jaden was named Christian Louboutin's first men's creative director, sparking massive backlash about nepotism in the fashion industry. People criticized that the fashion industry is already one of the toughest to break into, and instead of opening the doors for real talent, it feels like most opportunities go straight to celebrity kids, nepo babies, or famous individuals. But the castle headpiece and nepotism aren't even the most absurd things about Jaden. In 2022, old clips resurfaced of him complaining that kids his age just didn't want to discuss the political and economic state of the world. In an interview with Big Boy TV, Jaden said,
"I am very happy that I spent my childhood with more adults than I did with kids my own age, because I was picking up more things from adults than I were from kids my own age." And I look and I go around sometimes and I hang out with other people that are my age, and they're just kind of just, my phone selfie. I'm just like, dude, like, oh my God, like, can we talk about like the political and economic state of the world right now? Can we talk about what's going on with the environment? Can we talk about other things?
Of course, the internet absolutely demolished him for this. One meme said Jaden Smith on his way to curse out his kindergarten classmates for not understanding the complexities behind the current political climate. Another showed a crying SpongeBob with the caption, "8-year-old Jaden Smith when Jada gave him a Spider-Man themed birthday party instead of a book study on the War of Mesopotamia." Jaden eventually made his own meme poking fun at himself, posting a poker face photo with the caption, "Me, hey, wanna talk about the economic and political state of the world together? Girl, nah. Me, okay, cool." But this whole episode perfectly captured the Jaden problem. A kid who never had a childhood trying to sound wise and important when he really just comes across as pretentious and out of touch. But with his parents, it's kind of hard to expect anything else would happen. And the fact that he supported his dad's Oscar slap with a tweet saying, "and that's how we do it," shows the same misguided sense of righteousness. This is what happens when celebrity kids in LA mistake privilege for wisdom. Jaden's recent musical output also reads like something straight out of the Smiths' very public Hollywood tragedy. His 2024 Project 2024 case study on the long-term effects of young love sounds exactly like what it is. The pretentious ramblings of someone trying too hard to sound deep. "I honestly wanted to make it because I'm sad," Jaden described to the press. And that's not funny in itself, but you can't help but feel he's been a bit wrecked by his family life. Many celebrities want to shield their children from the media, but Will and Jada ultimately failed to do so. They pushed him straight into the Hollywood industry, as Will even admitted their parenting approach was a very, very, very terrible mistake, saying they taught their kids they could do whatever they want as long as they confess afterwards. So it probably won't surprise you that Willow hasn't been spared from the controversy. In August 2025, she posted a crying selfie on Instagram with an explicit caption that sparked massive backlash. Instead of quietly deleting the post and moving on, Willow doubled down with a response that was peak Smith family tone deafness.
"All niggas so dense, y'all forgot funny existed."
calling her critics dense for not understanding her humour. A classic Smith move: when in doubt, blame everyone else for not understanding your genius. But then she made a more serious error that again shows how totally out of touch Hollywood kids really are. Her debut novel, Black Shield Maiden, talking about Muslims indigenous to North Africa as dangerous on their best day with little regard for anyone who doesn't worship the Muslim god and always at war with one another. Obviously Hollywood and the press bashed it as you'd expect. But the ironic part here was that Willow was actually positioning herself as this champion of marginalized voices and communities. But when she tried to do this with her own writing, she completely missed the mark. What we're watching isn't just individual cases of celebrity desperation, it's an entire family that's lost the plot and being completely ruined by fame and superficial people. Will is now faking crowd sizes and releasing therapy rap songs. Jaden is wearing castles on his head and getting fashion jobs he doesn't deserve. Jada is oversharing their family trauma and pretending it's spiritual growth. It's something straight out of GTA 5. And it also says something about society as a whole that everyone collectively agreed that celebrities and their kids don't deserve the same level of privacy afforded to many of us. But they kind of brought it on themselves. Which is why the family that once seemed to have it all has become a cautionary tale about what happens when the pursuit of attention becomes more important than authenticity.